It is the OG shark type, not just that's been a staple in every library since, but has been around since the very early days of Medarot's beginning. It is SAK00 Yuchitang, with the kit of triple break, sea legs, and the leg ability of Accel, which grants a mobile boost effect to self when charging Metaforce. Now, as a model that's been available in Medarot S since day one, Yuchitang is a model that is pretty much a best friend to anyone, whether that be the rookies early on, or even the seasoned vets that may need something on hand to fill in a hole. Plus, the fact that Yuchitang's been around for quite some time through Medarot's history means that he's pretty much guaranteed his place as someone who's very dependable, very common, and very easy to obtain. Break on all three parts is a shooting attribute skill that also has a gravity attribute. This means that as a gravity skill, it has access to one thing, which makes it fantastic: Heavy Punish. That means any foes that are using 2 or more heavy parts are absolutely going to be feeling the pain, whereas 1 or none, probably not so much. Now, it is also worth noting between Press and Break that while Press may have a higher success modifier tied to Metaforce, Break has a lower one at a times 1.5 modifier, but also brings on Pierce damage with it, which means that on top of nailing the pain when it comes to attacking a heavy foe, you also will be having carryover damage attacking another part or even 2 parts, depending on how weak it is or how powerful your blow is. The Sea Legs also means that Yuchitang will have moderately decent coverage across most terrains, but when it comes to aquatic, he definitely cannot be beat. In the armor department, he's a little squishy, but that is kind of to be expected of a model that is very common and easy to obtain. With the head HP of just shy of 3,000, arms at 2,700 each, and legs at just shy of 3,700, he's kind of in that middle ground to a point where he's not terrible, but a good hit will definitely take him out. On the topic of his leg stats, he's unfortunately really not all there when it comes to what he brings to the table aside from his arms and head. With his legs packing only just barely 488 on the mobility, speed is definitely not something Yuchitang has in mind, which kind of attacks his point as a shark to go in quick and attack. With a shoot resist of 844 isn't super great, but also not terrible either. A melee resist of 504 is definitely not great though, as this means he will be taking a very significant amount of extra punish damage from anyone that tries to get up close and personal with him. But because he is a sea-legged type of bot, he does have a naturally high evade stat at about 1649. So what he lacks in resist stats, he makes up for with the higher likelihood of wanting to dodge or graze a lot of attacks to keep the damage as low as possible. It is also worth noting that all 3 of Yuchitang's parts are non-heavy, which grants ultimate variety and flexibility if you decide to use him on your team, whether that be as a pure set or as mixed parts. Plus, even though his speed may not be super great at first, he does kind of tie that back a little bit more with the Accel leg ability, which will grant that mobile boost effect to himself, making him notably faster on the field to keep up with everyone else. That all being said, as a pure set score, I do have to rate Yuchitang a very solid 6 out of 10. Kind of a middle-of-the-road kind of situation here. While all 3 of his parts are great, they are situationally good, which means that even with the success bonus, if you're fighting a foe that does not have a lot of heavy parts equipped, Yuchitang will not be dealing a lot of damage. Plus, having it on all 3 parts means that if you're fighting someone with no heavy parts and Yuchitang finds himself in that fight, he's effectively hosed, dealing very minimal damage at best, with very nominal and subpar mobility stats to make him a very easy target, even with Accel coming in to try to help combat. As mixed parts though, I do have to rate him notably higher at a 7 out of 10, because while his legs may not be super great, having a non-heavy break on any part, whether that be his head or either arm, grants him very good flexibility for any team that needs to fill in a heavy punish slot. And it doesn't even need to be break half the time, but break is honestly the most versatile and most consistent with its performance. And even if you don't nail a critical hit, even with that lower percentage, the fact that you'll be dealing the punish damage with the heavy bonus will already kind of tie itself back to begin with.